Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Well, it is about 20 after 4 on this. Well, it's cold, but it's not like really cold. The real cold is about to descend upon us. I think it's like 35 today or something like that, which is so funny because I'm sitting out here. I have my Birkenstock sandals on. Ooh, putting my little footsie on the cement was kind of cold. Oh, who's walking their little dog down the street? He's so cute, that little dog. I've never seen him before. Some guy walking his dog down the street. But anyway, everybody's talking about like this cold winter storm that we're supposed to have. I had my therapy session today at 1 o'clock and we were talking about it. He's like, are you ready for the winter storm? And I was like, well, I don't think that we're supposed to have that much snow. Like, when I looked on the Weather Channel, it said that we were only supposed to get rain and sleet now. Well, it didn't even say sleet, it just said rain. But then I was thinking about it, and I was like, if we're getting rain, it's supposed to rain like all tomorrow morning. If we're getting rain and it's a high of 2 degrees or something, that's going to be ice. And that's going to be horrible traveling conditions. I didn't even think about that, you know? When people were talking about this winter storm, I don't know why I didn't even think about that. But I mean, it's all of the rain is going to turn to like, you know, freezing ice, and it's going to be like horrible traveling conditions. So now I know in Chicago, they're supposed to have like whiteout conditions, and they're supposed to actually have a lot of snow in northern Indiana. It's supposed to get, he was telling me like 5 to 7 inches or something like that. Of course, in Indianapolis, we probably won't get any snow. So that's my Christmas wish every year. I'm still hoping for my Christmas wish that maybe we'll get, you know, an inch or 2 of snow, and that it'll stay on the ground. Well, I mean, if it's this cold, it'll stay on the ground. Well, if it was this cold now, it would stay on the ground. But if it's, you know, even sub-zero, so I think tomorrow. So today it's like 35, 40, and then it's supposed to drop tonight to like sub-zero temperatures, and then tomorrow it's like a high of like 2 degrees. Tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday it's supposed to be like the coldest. But I think like Sunday it's even just supposed to be like a high of 9 degrees. So it's gonna be a cold Christmas this year. Are you guys ready for Christmas? I still have to wrap all my presents. I wrapped 2 of Alex's presents, and I was just like tracking. I have like 1 present that I still have not gotten yet that I ordered, and I just got online and I was like looking up the email, like the tracking, and it's coming tomorrow. Thank God, because it's like one of my big presents for Caroline. And I was like, oh, thank God this is coming in time. So anyway, that will be here tomorrow. And then, yeah, and then I have all of my presents, but they're all just sitting in like this big pile, like pushed up, all the boxes next to my chair over there, like next to where I work. And I'm just like, oh God, I don't want to wrap all these presents. I was actually thinking about doing a Peter Does Stuff video called Wrapping Presents. I was just gonna sit down and like wrap presents while I filmed and I talked. So I may do that tomorrow. But we have like so many plans. So today I had kind of a rushed day. Well, last night, like, okay, so last night I had a great time last night. Tanya was sick, so she didn't go. But I ended up getting to my meeting. I got there like 10 minutes early and talked to a bunch of people. My sponsor was there when I got there, and like her like best guy friend that he goes to her home group. They were supposed to go to dinner before, and so they didn't. And then he was coming to meet her at my home group, which he never typically goes to. I guess he was talking about how he used to go to it like way back in the day. And so he came to the meeting as well, which it was really nice because I know him, but I don't know him really, really well. And so, and she gave me my coin, and she said some really, really nice things about me. And, of course, but no, she just talked about how, you know, she just said some really, really nice things. And she said, you know, like how it had been a really tough year, and that as addicts and alcoholics, we don't have to pick up, you know, even though we have tough years. And then we split up into our groups, and our groups were like really small last night. There were a lot of like newcomers, and so we do like a beginners group, and the beginners group had like a lot of people in it, and so our group only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in it, small. And we talked about like getting through difficult times and stuff like that. And my sponsor was in it, and then her friend sat in the group too. And she brought me this bouquet of flowers, a beautiful like Christmas bouquet of flowers. It was gorgeous. And so I said to her before the meeting, I said, did you guys go eat already? And because I was going to do this juicing thing, I know. And Alex keeps on asking me, he's like, so when are you starting this juicing thing? I'm like, I don't know. So anyway, so I said, did you guys go eat before? Because I had planned on going to eat before, which is why I didn't ask her to give me like a ride to this thing. And she said no. We decided to go eat afterwards, and we were going to eat somewhere close to where you live, because that way I can, you know, take you home and whatever. And she was like, why are you wanting to go eat? I thought you were, you know, like that you were doing this like juicing thing, because I had told her about it. And I said, yeah, I kind of want to go eat somewhere. I'm like really hungry now. And she's like, that's fine, we'll go, it'll be fun. And so anyway, and then she felt bad. She was like, had I known that you were going to take an Uber here, she was like, Peter, I would have just swung by and picked you up. Although she like lives on the way other side, so it would have been like so out of her way. It was fine. Like the Uber, I had a great Uber driver last night. He was really, really nice. We had a good conversation on the way there. So, and Alex, you know, like he had a bunch of stuff going on, so he couldn't take me, and just, it was whatever. And like, I also like was able to figure out, like, in case like Tanya doesn't go one time or whatever, like how far like in advance I need to like order the Uber. And I ordered the Uber and it said 13 minutes away, and then like I looked at it like a minute later, thank God I did, and it said they were 2 minutes away. So he was like right there. Anyway, this woman that just ran by, she like walks her dogs. Well, she walks her son's dogs too. He must live around here somewhere, but she walks like her dogs like twice a day, like all around the neighborhood. And then she runs like 3 times a day. She's like super fit. So anyway, and she's really nice. But anyway, so then we went to Wolfie's last night, which is just kind of like this like bar food. They have like delicious food. And I was like wanting all these different things. And so my sponsor was like, she was like, just get them all. She was like, just get whatever you want. So I got a wedge salad, which without bacon, ate all of that. And then, which my stomach completely hurt when I got home. I just don't think that I can eat anything that has any kind of milk base to it anymore. I totally believe that I'm lactose intolerant. Which, by the way, I wanted to ask you in the comment section below if you guys will list this. When I talked about that the last time, a couple people talked about a medicine that you can get over the counter that you can take before you eat that helps if you're lactose intolerant. Can you guys list that again? Because I don't know which video I was talking about that in to go back and find it. So could you guys list it in the comment section below? That would be really helpful for me because I want to try that first. I see my primary care physician in January, so I'm going to talk to him about it. But I just really think like I have to be lactose intolerant now, because every time I eat anything that has like a cream base to it or milk base to it, or it's like made in-house, like I'm just like screwed, you know? So I had the wedge salad, which was fantastic. And then I got these pretzel breadsticks for the table, but her friend got chips and queso. So like they were eating chips and queso, so they weren't eating the other things that I got. So I got pretzel breadsticks with queso dip, which were fantastic. I had like 1.5. And then I got this stuff, it's called Boom Boom cauliflower. So it's like they make this cauliflower and it tastes just like barbecue, like chicken wings. It's so good, you guys. And then, and this is another thing that really screwed me, I got their mac and cheese, which I brought like almost the whole thing home because I was like so full at that point I couldn't eat anything. So yeah, juicing to all of that, right? But we had such a great time. It was so much fun, and it was just nice. We were talking about people that we knew in the program, and like I was asking him, and he was telling me about his wife and kids and stuff like that. And so we just had such a great time. It was so much fun. And you know, like that's one thing I don't do as much, because the people that we hung out with, you know, it's like Well, my one sponsor passed away, my other sponsor passed away that we used to hang out with. You know, we've had a couple friends that have gone back out. It's like the group that Tanya and I used to hang out with. Tanya just put something about this on my Facebook, because I put like 28 years on my Facebook on my birthday, and so she commented and she goes, do you remember when we used to have to take 2 cars to the meeting, or 3 cars to the meeting, because there were so many of us from our little group, and now it's just basically like Tanya and I, you know, because so many people have, like, our group is just like from like 15-20 years ago. It's like it doesn't exist anymore, you know. And so we talk about something in recovery called fellowshipping, which is basically just like hanging out with other people in recovery. And I think it's like such a huge part of recovery that maybe isn't talked about as much as it needs to be talked about in early recovery. Like, and I was talking about this last night to them, like, you know, I was going to meetings and I was working with a sponsor and I was working steps when I first got sober, but like things started changing for me really when I met Tanya and I had a group of people to hang out with. And I started fellowshipping, and, you know, we would go to this restaurant in Noblesville. It actually just closed down this year, and they, like, it's gone. Like, they, like, what do you call it? Like, bulldozed it down and stuff. It was called El Camino. It was this Mexican restaurant. We used to go there every Tuesday night before our home group meeting. And, I miss those times, you know, and I don't know, maybe I need to, you know, find some new people to fellowship with and stuff like that. But it was fun last night, you know, it was fun. I think it's hard to, like, when you're at, like, where I'm at in sobriety, like, when I was going to a lot of, like, candlelights, I didn't necessarily fellowship with people, but I would get there early and I would hang out with a lot of people and have coffee, like, in the canteen or outside and whatever. And when I came back into the rooms, I did start hanging out with a lot of people and I met a lot of new people. But what happened was, because I was going to, like, noon meetings, which they called nooners. I was going to noon, I don't know why that's funny to me, but I was going to noon meetings. And so there were a couple girls that I became friends with, like, really close. This one girl in particular. Well, 2 girls that I became really close with. And one, she ended up meeting a guy in the program and they ended up getting married and settling down and stuff like that. So she and I kind of, like, you know, when she started getting, like, really, like, hot and heavy with him, like, we didn't hang out as much together. And she and I, like, when Alex would go do stuff or whatever, like, she and I would, like, hang out. And the other girl that I was friends with, she and I were closer. Well, they were both closer. They weren't close to me in age. They were about 10 years younger than me, but she was going through a divorce. And so, like, on the weekends that she didn't have her kids, she and I would hang out. We would go to a meeting, you know, on a Friday and Saturday night, and then we would go out to eat. You know, we would go to, like, O'Charlie's or, you know, something like that. What was the other place that we used to always go? I can't remember what that other restaurant was called that we would go to in Noblesville. But anyway, we would eat, and then we would go back to her house and drink coffee and listen to the Smiths, and we would talk and stuff, you know, and oh, here comes my neighbor out from across the street to see if the mail's out. I never talk to him anymore because it's so cold outside, and the other day we were both outside. I was like, I never get to see you anymore. He was like, I know. Hey, how are you? His neighbor needs the assistance, so he'll be right back, he said. I may have to turn this off if he starts talking about neighbors' names and things. So anyway, by the way, I can't vlog forever tonight because I was going to try to vlog about 40 minutes because we are going to Sarah's 1-year lung anniversary, because today is the year anniversary from Sarah getting her double lung transplant at Duke University last year. Just crazy to think. I was, like, texting her earlier, and I'm so happy for her, and it's just unreal to think, like, I can remember a year ago, like, we would be, like, laying in bed and it would be like 11 o'clock at night, and her sister would text us and be like, okay, we're going to the hospital. This happened, like, several times, like 3 to 5, 6 times. I don't know how many times, but more than 3, less than 6, but it doesn't matter, I guess, where it was like a false alarm. Like, and I didn't know that this happens a lot with, like, transplants and stuff like that, but they would get there and then it wouldn't be, like, a good fit, or like the donor match wouldn't be good or whatever when they thought it would be. And so she would have to get all prepped and go in and do everything. Like, the whole story of what Sarah had to do, I didn't know all this, but, like, first she went and she interviewed at like several different hospitals, and she looked at like Duke, which is where she ended up, and she loved Duke. She can't say enough good things about the people at Duke. What was the Cleveland Clinic, I think it's the other one, like big hospital programs, you know, that do like transplants. But she had to go there like 2 or 3 months in advance, and like she got an apartment. She stayed there with her sister who lives in Washington DC. Like she like took all the time off and like came and was like with her, and they like she had to go and like understand like all the things that she had to do like afterwards. So like she had to go through basically all of this like education and like, you know, all this kind of stuff. It was like really, really intensive. So anyway, I'm really happy for her, and I'm really proud of her. I never knew anybody personally that had gone through like a major organ transplant like that before. I actually have like a friend of mine who is a transplant nurse, and you know, she would tell me stories that, you know, of things like back in the day and how they've like changed policies and things like that of like how they do things. But I had never known anybody that had had like a major like organ transplant until Sarah. And especially at such a young age, it was so scary. Like I can remember when she finally went in for the last time, and like, I mean, we were really worried that she wouldn't even make it through it, you know. So happy for her, and just to see her like living her life like now, like, you know, and there's not a day that goes by that she doesn't take it, you know. I mean, she's so like grateful for it, and you know, all of that, and she doesn't take it for granted, like not one bit, and she sees it as like this new lease on life and all this kind of stuff. It's really cool. So and she's always educating people about like pulmonary hypertension and things like that, because like, you know, for a long time they didn't know what it was. And I mean, this has like been like I need to have her on here to tell her story, because, or not on the vlog, but like on a video. She said she would do it, because I mean, this has been like a 10 to, well, Alex and I have been together for 14 years, so probably 10 to 12 year journey for her in trying to figure out like what's been going on. Like for, I would say like 5 years, like she got sick. They didn't know what it was, you know? And then it's like she went here and she went there. I mean, she went everywhere. She went to all of the, you know, John Hopkins, all the major hospitals. I think she went there and, you know, had like diagnoses done and testing done and all this kind of, they could not figure out for the life for, I mean, she did everything. I mean, she did like, you know, mainstream medicine, alternative medicine. She did like everything to try to like, you know, figure it out. And this was it. And I think the saddest for me was she had lost a ton of weight. This was before the transplant. She had lost a ton of weight, and she was on oxygen. And she had been, at that point, she was pretty much on oxygen almost all the time. And she didn't really want anybody to see her because she was on oxygen. And because she didn't want to have to like explain to people like, you know, all that kind of stuff, like the cords and whatever. And so she became a little bit reclusive, except for like people that were close to her, like Alex and I, and, you know, and then during COVID, especially like with having a lung issue, she had to be like super careful, you know. And I don't know, but I'm just really happy for her today. And I think also like it gave me a true appreciation for people that live with like long-term illnesses like that. And I mean, and I know that there's a lot of people that watch the vlog that like don't ever leave their houses. And I mean, you guys have shared your stories with me, and I think like it really allowed me to have a better appreciation for all of the areas. You know, I think sometimes we see people that have illnesses, you know, and that, you know, we think about like the medical issues with it, but we don't think about all of the other different aspects of their life that it affects, the social aspects and the family aspects, and that they can't do the recreational things that they want to do, and they can't just really enjoy their lives, even going out to eat places or traveling. I mean, she couldn't get on a plane, you know, and she couldn't like, you know, go to restaurants and things like that. And so, you know, I think that those are things that like, I don't know that I ever really, it just wasn't on my radar to think about until like, you know, with her. So Yeah. What was I talking about before that? So we're going to that tonight, and then tomorrow we're doing Christmas at Alex's aunt's house. And I think everybody's going over there. And I don't know what time we're doing that. So that'll be tomorrow night. Probably early. They usually do things early. So, and then Friday we don't have anything. Thank God. I need like a day. It was funny because Sarah like is doing this like this open house from like, it's just like an open house, you can stop by whenever, but it's like from 3 to 10. And I was joking with her last week. I was like, girl, that's a long open house. She was like, well, it's for people to stop by whenever they can. It's not like you stay from 3 to 10. So I texted her today and I was like, happy lung anniversary and whatever. And we were like texting back and forth. And she said, yeah, I'm kind of wishing I had made this thing at like from 5 to 10 now. She was like, cause 3 is like really early. And she was like, I know that 5:30 to 6 is going to be when everybody's here at the same time. And so anyway, but they're out on the street talking. I can hear them. And then, so Alex texted me tonight or today, and he was like, Carlos and Liliana constantly change their plans for what they're doing for Christmas at like the last moment. So now apparently they're hosting Christmas Eve at their apartment. So Liliana's 2 sisters are visiting. And so apparently they're hosting Christmas Eve at their apartment, and they were going to go to their cousin's house, but apparently they're not going to their cousin's house anymore. So they're just going. So anyway, I don't know. And they were going to just come over to his mom's house for, I didn't understand like the whole thing. But anyway, so now we are going out to dinner. Alex and his mom and I, we're going out to dinner late, like which is fine by me. I think our dinner reservations are like late on Christmas Eve, which is like Caroline's are at like 4. I'm like, girl, 4 o'clock. She's like, I know, I'll be in bed by 6. But like, so they're late, which means like Christmas Eve, which is like my favorite day, I can just enjoy as long as possible. And then we're going over to Carlos and Liliana's apartment and just like hanging out with them and like unwrapping presents and doing all that kind of stuff. And so that'll be fun. I'm excited about that. Plus it'll be fun to be with the kids, you know, with Santa and all that kind of stuff. So last year, they went to like Cleveland or Columbus or something to see like friends. They're always like visiting different people. You getting the mail?
Yeah, you want yours?
I already got it. But thank you. Yep. Are your slippers warm?
They are. Better than my stocking feet.
Did you get your wife something nice for Christmas? Listen.
We don't exchange much. When we want something, we go get it.
Are you doing a Christmas dinner or anything?
Yep.
Well, that'll be fun.
Vicky is.
Yeah.
Sort of non-traditional. She's making a pot roast.
Oh, that'll be nice.
She does a wonderful pot roast. Did you want me to do it on the egg? No.
Well, that'll be fun. Bye. They're having pot roast for Christmas. I think that's kind of fun, actually. Yeah, it's weird, like, when it gets cold here. Like, some of my neighbors still walk. But, I mean, obviously I'm not sitting out here, you know, like I did, like, when it was warm. But, like, I very rarely ever see, like, my neighbors. Like, my neighbor next door over there, like, I haven't seen her. And, I mean, other than, like, leaving, I haven't seen her in, like, 2 months. To talk to her. When's the last time I talked to her? I can't even remember. And then the neighbors over there, I talked to their son because he was visiting the other day. Oh, so I went to bed when I came home last night. Well, I was out here early this morning, and because I was like watching this show and I didn't want to wear my AirPods anymore. And so like I sat out here for a couple minutes to watch Rudolph, and when I was watching Rudolph, like it was real loud. I was like, I'm just gonna watch Rudolph for 5 minutes and then go to bed. And I was sitting out here because I kind of wanted to see how cold it was, and he like walked his dog by, and he was like, and I stopped it and I was like, I'm just watching Rudolph. He was like, yeah, I heard Dasher and Dancer. But anyway, so last night when I came home, I was exhausted. And Alex was watching The Real Housewives of Miami. So I went upstairs and I was just like, I'm gonna go to bed. So I got into bed, was so cozy in bed. and I completely fell asleep. Alex came up like a half an hour later, and so I fell asleep. What time did I get home? Like 11, I think I got home. And oh no, it must have been earlier than that, because I called and I talked to Tanya at like 10:30, and she was feeling better, but she had like, her fever had broke, but she was like, I'm still sick. She was like, I don't know what's going on, I'm miserable. And so anyway, but she was feeling much better, and she was just asking me about the meeting and who I saw there, because there was like a friend of ours that, like, he never comes to the meeting very often. He was there, and he was like, oh, I was hoping to see Tanya, and I was like, oh, she's sick tonight, whatever. So I was telling her about that. But anyway, then I went to bed, so I must have laid down about 11. Well, I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like wide awake. And why was this car going so slow down the street? And I was like wide awake, and so came downstairs, took Boo Radley out, gave him some food. He ran down to the basement, ate his food, and he's so cute. He's so cute in the morning, like when he shakes himself, and then he's like before I'm like even to the door, he's like jumped down, he's like ready to go outside and go potty. And so took him outside, he ran around, and then gave him the food. And then I was like, I need to catch up on Chippendales. Well, I had 2 episodes to watch. They're short. I didn't realize how short they are. They're like 35, 36 minutes. So I watched Chippendales, and both of those episodes, yeah. And that was when, oh no, my AirPods were dying. That's what it was. So I started like watching Rudolph inside. And I don't know, I gotta get new AirPods, y'all. Okay, I know everybody tells me I need to take them in and I need to exchange them because there's like a warranty, or there's like a thing about them, recall or whatever. I don't know, I've had them so long now, I just feel weird doing that. So I just need to get some new ones, I think. But so they like were dying on me, so I was like, okay, I just want to watch like 5 more minutes of Rudolph, which the entire Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which people are paying to watch, is on YouTube. You can watch it like on like 3 different channels on YouTube. So I started watching it on YouTube, and that's when I came outside. I was like, I'm just gonna watch like 5 minutes of it. So anyway, and then I went back to bed, and it was like 7 in the morning, and I'm like, I am never gonna get up today. And so I slept in this morning, and then I had my therapy session at 1, and yeah, and then I made a drama video and was doing some cameos. I like had like no cameos, and then like one day I like opened my thing and I had like a ton of cameos for Christmas, and I was like, oh my god, where did these come from? So I'm trying to slowly make my way through those, which I love doing them. They're so fun. I love like the personal messages of those. And yeah, and then I was doing some wash today to have something to wear to the thing tonight. And then Alex and I were texting back and forth. And then his mom was supposed to go with us, but she's not feeling well today. So she was going to come here at 5:30, but she's not going to come and go with us tonight. So Alex is going to leave about 5 o'clock, and then he's stopping to get Sarah something on the way home. And then he's going to be home. I'm going to start getting ready at 5. So it's probably about 10 till 5 right now, because I started vlogging at like 20 after 4. Yeah, it's probably about 10 till 5 almost. So I'm going to have to get ready here in just a little bit. But anyway, that's been my day. I think Friday is going to be the day that I'm going to have to spend like wrapping presents, because I've waited the entire week. My plan would be, if I could do things the way that I want to do them, would be like maybe tonight when we come home, like wrap 2 or 3 presents. Tomorrow, wrap 2 or 3 presents. I don't have tons of presents to wrap. I probably have max 9 or 10 presents. That's not really that many, you think? So, I mean, if I sat down and I put on a movie, I mean, I could have that done, like, in the time that it would take me to watch a movie. And I don't, like, here's the thing, like, I joke about it. Like, I don't hate wrapping presents. I just don't enjoy wrapping presents, you know what I mean? But I don't hate it. Do you know what's so bizarre is that, I don't know why I always remember this every year. And this was when this was before we even had wood floors in the house. So I don't even know. I have no clue what year this happened, but UPS. We're getting another package. What package this is? Is it for me? Oh, it's big. It wasn't for me, it was for Alex. But I took it inside and looked at the time because it's like, I was like, what time is it? So it's about 4:55. So I'm going to vlog for 10 more minutes and then I'm going to hurry and get ready so that I am ready. I think like this is going to be like really casual. It's an open house. So I think I'm just going to wear a hat and a sweater. I'll wear like a nice sweater and like jeans and some nice shoes. But I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to try to be fancy. Fancy is as fancy does. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna wear. I was going to vlog for like a half an hour, 40 minutes, and then come home, and when I got home vlog, but Alex and I may go get something to eat, or I may just want to, you know, like relax or whatever. So I think that I don't want to say like, oh, I'll vlog when I get home, and then we get home at like 8 o'clock, and then I feel bad about it, you know what I mean? So I think I'm just gonna vlog for another, you know, 10 minutes, and then whatever. What was I saying though about last night before all that? Before I got into that long thing. I was talking about fellowshipping. I was talking about, yeah, but we had a really good time last night. I got caught up on Chippendales. Then tonight is Salt Lake City, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, that we'll probably watch. Sometimes we hold on to those and don't watch them for a long time. So, I don't know, we'll have to see. That UPS guy went all the way down around the thing and went back out. Oh, he's stopping at another house. I wonder what they got. Look, I put these bells. Do you see this? Those bells right there? So those were bells that my mom used to put on the front door. She used to do that, like underneath the wreath. So when I was down in the basement and I was getting the stuff for the Christmas tree and whatever, I found all this stuff that my mom used to decorate with. And I was like, I should put this stuff up. Like I have these like gingerbread men. Like had I like started decorating closer to Thanksgiving and I found this stuff, I probably would have put it up. But it's these like patchwork, I don't even know how to explain it. They're cute. It's like each gingerbread man is like this. And they're like made out of like different material, like patchwork. And so it's like, it goes like this and it's like at the top of your door you put it, you know. They're like, not, I don't want to say stuffed animals, but they're like, they're just like this bit, you know what I mean? But they're cute. It'd be like for a kitchen, like doors where my mom used to put it. And then like her advent calendar that she and my aunt made is still in the basement. I just for the life of me can't get rid of it. It's like this one that they handmade for their classroom when they were teachers. And then there were some other things down there that my mom used to like use for Christmas that I just haven't thrown away. We actually, our like 6-foot Christmas tree that's like pre-lit is like down in the basement. It's like not in a box. It's just like thrown on a bunch of stuff. Because that was the year that Alex and I decided that we weren't going to do it anymore. We were just going to put up a small Christmas tree. We need to donate that or something. Like seriously, like it needs to go. You guys want to know what kind of stuff is in the basement? Like that's the kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that's like, we have a lot of like big things like that. Like a lot of big items. Like I have a drafting table. I have like a couple bookshelves down there. I have a desk. I have a couch. I have a table. I mean, there's this whole secretary desk thing that has like, for it's like, it goes with this desk where like my mom had this typewriter on it. I mean, there's a lot of, we keep our luggage down there. Boxes of stuff like for holidays, like all of our Halloween stuff, all of our Christmas stuff. Like, we keep all of that stuff down there. So it's like, it's not just like this huge mess that I have. It's just not organized is the problem, you know? So, but I've been slowly working on it. Bag here, bag there at a time. I actually was just like going through some stuff today and putting some stuff together. Anyway, slowly getting organized in my life. Getting my life organized. I need to start making, you know, this is something that I was saying that I usually do around my sobriety birthday, and I actually didn't do it this year, was that I sit down and, I mean, I did it kind of, like I was on like my phone and stuff, but like I didn't do like an official list where like I sit down and I like am like, okay, for the year ahead, these are the things that I want to accomplish. I was talking to my therapist about this today, and so I think like going into 2023, I really need to think about like what I want my year to look like, what things like, you know, you can tell I'm in my head right now. I'm thinking about my therapy session. I had a really good therapy session today. Somebody actually asked me, and I thought this was an interesting question. Somebody asked me on the vlog not too long ago. I thought it was an interesting question, but I thought it was kind of an intrusive question. Like, if you kind of like read into it a little bit, but they said, you always say like, we had a good marriage counseling session, but like you never say like what that means. No, like I'm not going to get on my vlog and tell you guys the specifics of what Alex and I talk about to do with our marriage. Like I think those are private things. And to be honest with you, out of consideration for him, in reality, I mean, I have no problem talking about anything, you know, over here. But I think like, you know, before we do like a Q&A or before we go into anything, I always ask him like, are there things that you don't want me to talk about, or are there things that you're not comfortable talking about? And there'll be times that he'll be like, yeah, I don't want to talk about getting another dog, or I don't want to talk about PP, because like that's still like such a like a, you know, like a tough spot for him to talk about, like with Tucker and PP passing away. You know, or, you know, there's a lot of things that Alex doesn't want to talk about, you know, like Alex doesn't like getting super, super emotional and on camera, he just doesn't like it. He's like, but you can, you know, talk about whatever you want to talk about. When I say that we had like a good marriage counseling session, what I typically mean, because I do think it's a fair question, but like I'm just not going to get into the specifics of what we talk about. But what I mean by that is like, a lot was accomplished. Like, I feel like we both left there having learned something. Like, we learned, like, better communication skills, or we learned, like, something came up that, you know, like, I'm trying to give you guys an example of, like, something that we talked about in the last marriage counseling session when we were in there. Okay, so you know, like if you've ever been to marriage counseling, you'll know what I'm talking about. So if I bring up something, and this is a lot of why I don't share specifics on here. If I bring up something and I say, okay, like, well, when we were in marriage counseling, I was bringing up the fact that Alex does A, B, and C, and it makes me feel this way, right? And it could be something so stupid, you guys. Like, oh, like, when I come in and he's watching TV or something like that. I mean, because these are the things that, like, you know, when you're married or in your relationship affect that. And then, you know, like, then Alex and I will work on that. Like, I'll bring that up in a marriage counseling session, and then, like, you know, our therapist will say, well, like, what would it be like for you, like, if he came in, you know, and, like, he paused the television and whatever. I'm just making this up. This is not something that we have talked about in marriage counseling. And, you know, and then I'll say, well, like, that would mean a lot to me, you know, and then Alex will be like, you know, okay, I can do that. Like, if so, from now on, when I come in, you know, like, when you come in, I'll pause the television or whatever, right? And then, like, the next couple times that I come home, let's say, or whatever, like, the television, he pauses the television. He's like, hey, babe, how was, you know, like, your night with your meeting or whatever? Okay. Something like that. I'm just making this up. But sometimes, like, if I share that on here, if I talk about that, like, to me, it's not a super huge thing, because for me, it's really more about the learning of it, the learning, like, I did a video not too long ago, and I was talking about some things to do with Alex, and people in there were like, oh, I love good spouse venting, and I was like, oh, see, like, you have to be very careful of that, because when you're on video and you're talking about it, like, people, like, start thinking a certain way. Oh, Alex and Peter are having problems, Alex and Peter this, Alex and Peter that, when it can be very minute kind of things, and if you are in a marriage or a relationship, you know that, right? For me, when I say it's a good marriage counseling session, what I mean by that is that we learn something from that. So it's really more about the lesson of, this is how I feel. Yes, I've learned that. Okay, I've heard what you had to say, because a lot of marriage counseling is about, let me share something with you in a safe space. Okay, I hear what you have to say. I can do that in the future. Or what do you need from me to do in the future, you know, to make you feel better, or to feel heard, or to help you. And that goes both ways. I mean, he brings a lot of stuff up that he's like, you know, it would mean a lot to me if when I came home that you brought the trash can up, you know, like I'm gone 10 hours a day, like, you know, I take the trash out the night before. It would really mean a lot to me if the trash can was in the garage when I came up, because those are the kind of things, like, that's his love language, right? So, like, that being done, or, like, all the trash being in the trash can already, so all I have to do is push it out or whatever, you know? Like, that's my love language. And those are the kind of things we talk about. It's just, how do we make each other feel more appreciated, or how do we make each other feel more loved? But as far as, like, our sessions being, like, super deep, like, we don't have super deep sessions anymore. Like, I mean, the time before, when we were marriage counseling, I mean, we were on our way towards divorce. Like, there was a lot of animosity and resentment. There was a lot of, you know, anger. There was a lot of sadness. And it was a lot about unboxing those feelings and, you know, unpacking those feelings and talking about them and saying, this is how I feel, like, I don't understand, I don't feel close to you, this is why, and, you know, all of that. We don't talk, those aren't our sessions today. Our sessions today are about, like, you know, how can we better understand each other? How can we achieve each other's love languages on a better, you know, like, on, you know, a better level? How can we make each other happier? How can we be more intimate with each other? You know, how can we improve intimacy? Things like that, because we want to bump our level of our marriage from here to here and to keep on growing and to have it be better and better and better. And so that's why we continue to go to marriage counseling, you know? And that's why I would recommend it for anybody, no matter where you are on that spectrum, you know? And I think especially, like, when you have somebody that you really trust and you can talk to, like, we both love our therapist, and so it's, you know, it's just a really comfortable, safe space for us to talk about that. But those are the kind of things that we talk about in there. So when I say it's a good session, what I mean by that is that I think it's when we both get in Alex's Jeep and, you know, we're both like, oh, that was a good session. Like, and he'll say, yeah, like, I learned this, like, and I didn't know this, babe. And, like, I'm sorry that I didn't do that. I'm like, yeah, me too. And, like, you know, in the future, this is what I'll do. And, like, we're really pumped, like, when we leave, to practice these things that we've learned in there. And, like, that's an exciting feeling, you know? And like, I equate it a lot to vocal coaching, but it's kind of the same. It's kind of like, you know, going to a vocal coach and learning a new song and then, like, leaving there and, like, having that song, like, in your head. You know, it's very similar to that. It's being pumped to practice those things because you know that, you know. And then the other thing is this, is when you see your partner doing those things, you know, and it's like, I can remember, like, the garbage can thing, like, that is a real example. And so, like, you know, I just started, like, conditioning myself to start bringing the trash can in, you know, on Thursdays, and which is no big deal. I didn't even know it was, like, that big of a deal, right? But that's something that means something to him, you know? And so, I remember the first time that I did it, and Alex came in, he was like, I just want you to know that that really meant a lot to me. And I was like, oh, thank you, sweetie. Like, no problem. I can do this, no problem, you know? And stuff like that. So, and I think it's also discussing, like, other things. Like, I always make the bed really, really nice. And so, like, this is kind of funny, but, like, we were talking about, he was like, you know, I know that Peter, you know, likes to make, like, a nice house for me and whatever. And he was like, but, like, because he loves an unmade bed. I like a nice made bed. And so I said, babe, I don't do the bed. Like, I do it nice so that when you come home, it looks nice and all that kind of stuff. But I don't do it for you. I do it for me. It makes me happy to see the bed and all of that, the pillows and the candles lit and the Christmas tree plugged. I mean, that's for me. I do that for me. You know what I mean? And so those are the kind of conversations that we have in there. And, you know, anytime that we do kind of have disagreements or arguments, it's a safe space. We no longer, like, if it is argument or discussion, which we very rarely have, that gets heated, we always say, let's just save this for therapy. And then we take it to therapy where it's a safe space for our therapist to kind of mediate and talk about it. And it's always better in the long run. We don't ever raise voices. We don't ever allow ourselves to get to that point anymore. You know, I'm a believer that, I don't know, there's so many people out there that don't meet somebody to begin with that I feel that our marriage and our relationship is very sacred, and I want to do whatever I possibly can to preserve it and, you know, save it. And I know he feels the same way. So that's why we do that. Oh, my neighbors, their son-in-law is coming to pick up the grandkids because they stayed over there. Wasn't that? Yeah, he pulled into the neighborhood. I could see him. So anyway, so that's when I say we had a good marriage counseling session. And when I say, like, with my counseling, like, or with my therapy today, that it was a good therapy session, what I mean by that is, like, he challenges me and he'll say things to me, you know, like, for me, and this is just me, a good therapy session is not one where we're just shooting the SHI toot and, hey, how's your Christmas and all that kind of stuff. We do that. That is, I would say, like, the first 5 minutes. But for me, it's where I bring up things that, like, I have been going through my head, and, you know, and I've been thinking about, that I've been struggling with, you know, whether it's things to do with the accident, which is why I started seeing him to begin with, that, you know, are still there, or if it's recovery stuff, or if it's friends of mine that have gone back out, or whatever it is, you know, or if it's just me working on goals or things that I'm struggling with or feelings that I'm having, you know, or whatever. It's like there are times that I feel down and I feel like I can't pull it together, you know, and it's like he is that person for me. He is somebody that challenges me. He is somebody that is a sounding board for me. He is a safe place for me. To be able to talk about my feelings and my emotions and what's going on with me. He doesn't always tell me what I want to hear. And like I say this about Tanya as well, he tells me what I need to hear. But he does it in a compassionate, kind way that he suggests things to me, and he'll suggest things for me to try, and give me tools for my toolbox. And that's what I mean when I say it's a good therapy session. Like, I leave there and I'm like, wow, or I get off, you know, because I do it on Zoom, but I'll get off the session and I'll be like, wow, like I feel like I got a lot out of that today. Like, okay, like I can now go forward, and there's a lot that I've learned. So, yeah, I recommend it to anybody. You know, if you haven't ever gone before, you know, find somebody in 2023 and just say, I'm gonna go 2 or 4 times, and then if I like it, I'll continue. If I don't like it, I won't. You know, and you know, there are a lot of people out there. I always suggest to people, because this is how we always find people, but through psychologytoday.com, and you can put in your zip code, and then it says, like, find a therapist. And then you can find people with sliding fee scales, their, you know, all of their credentials, and, you know, what their specialties are and things like that. Treatment programs are on there too, if you're looking for treatment programs, or addiction specialists for people, or interventionists and all that kind of stuff. And that's across the country. So, but anyway, yeah, you know, and they have life coaches on there and everything, but counselors and therapists, and, you know, find somebody and treat yourself. You know, and do it for you or your marriage or whatever, and try it. And I love when I get the messages from people that say, because of you talking about marriage counseling so openly, my husband or my wife and I are going to marriage counseling for the first time tonight. I'm like, that really means a lot to me, you know, that because I was so afraid to go to marriage counseling, and so out of that came me being able to talk about it openly, and maybe inspiring somebody else to go, that they can save their marriage, you know, and that's awesome. You know what I mean? So, all right, you guys, I need to get off here and start getting ready for this open house. So thank you for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. I actually vlogged a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. And I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Wednesday. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. You'll be putting a smile on their face. Is that my neighbor again? You'll be putting a smile on your face. You'll be putting a smile on your face and on their face, and you'll be cheering them up and making them happier. And why wouldn't we want to do that? You know, and just making their day. So, and also be kinder to one another. Love one another a little bit more, and be kinder and love yourself a little bit more. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.